The village of Umuse lay cradled between rolling green hills and a whispering river, a place where the sun rose lazily and the people measured time by the crowing of roosters and the prayers of the elders. In this quiet corner of the world, the name Ikenna was on everyone's lips. He was the first son of Motsi Okonkwo, a poor but hardworking farmer, and Kiru, a woman whose kindness was as deep as the river that bordered their land. From childhood, Ikenna had carried himself differently, his eyes sharp with intelligence, his spirit restless with dreams too big for the village. While other boys wrestled in the dust, he sat under the ancient Udola tree, flipping through tattered textbooks, whispering to himself in a language of numbers and letters. When he left for the city to attend university, his mother tied a small charm around his wrist, a protection from evil eyes. His father, a man of few words, simply gripped his shoulder and said, "Do not forget the soil that raised you." Years later, Ikenna returned, not as the barefoot boy who had left, but as a man of the city. He had completed his National Youth Service Corps (NYSC), and during this period he had the opportunity to work with Mr. Emeka, who sells building materials of all kinds, iron rod, zinc sheets in a big market. By some stroke of fortune he was also able to secure a lucrative job with an oil and gas company. The village buzzed with the news: Ikenna has been given an official car. A white jeep with shiny wheels. On the day he drove into Umuse, children ran alongside the vehicle, their laughter ringing like bells. Elders emerged from their huts, squinting at the spectacle. His mother wept. His father, though silent, stood taller than he had in years. That evening, beneath the moon's watchful gaze, Ikenna gathered his family in their small mud brick house. The kerosene lamp flickered as he spoke, his voice thick with promise. "Father, Mother, no more suffering. I will build you a house with a zinc roof and cemented floors. My brothers and sisters will go to the best schools. No one in this family will ever go to bed hungry again." His words were like honey, sweet and golden. His younger siblings clapped, their eyes wide with dreams of uniforms and school bags. His mother whispered prayers of thanks to the ancestors. But in the shadows, unseen, Ogbonna, his father's elder brother, watched. Ogbonna had always been a bitter man. His own sons had dropped out of school and become wayward, his farm yielded little, and now his younger brother's child was shining brighter than the midday sun. Every laugh from Ikenna's family was a thorn in his heart. Every mention of the new house was a stab to his pride. How dare he rise so high? Ogbonna muttered to himself, "The gods do not bless one man so much unless there is a trick in it." And so, on a night when the moon hid behind thick clouds, Ogbonna invited Ikenna for a drink at his residence, unknown to Ikenna that his uncle has poisoned his drink. Later that evening Ikenna got back to the parents' house screaming, "My stomach." Before they could ask what happened or what he ate, he gave up the ghost. By morning, the village awoke to screams, his bright future extinguished. The people wept. The sky itself seemed to mourn, unleashing a rain that lasted 3 days, the same 3 days before Ikenna was buried in his father's compound. But deep in the forest, the spirits whispered. A man who dies with unfinished work does not rest easily. The night Ikenna was buried, the wind howled through the trees like a grieving mother. The villagers whispered that the earth itself refused to swallow him whole, his body too heavy with unfulfilled promises, his spirit too restless to surrender. 3 days after the funeral, a storm raged over Yumius. Lightning split the sky, and thunder shook the rooftops. Welcome to the Promisky Folktale channel, where stories walk, spirits speak, and legends live again. If you love powerful African tales full of mystery, magic, and meaning, you're in the right place. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop your thoughts in the comment section below. And hey, tap the notification bell so you never miss a new story when it drops. Now, sit back, listen closely, and let the ancestors guide us into today's tale. As if whatever life he lived before had been buried with the clothes he arrived in. He rented a small room at the edge of town, close to the market, and began his life anew. But Chinedu was not just any man. He had the mind of one who had once dreamed big, who once promised the world to a family, and whose blood once knew betrayal. He quickly found work at a building material company, where his sharp tongue and keen eyes made him a favorite with customers. Within years, he saved enough to start his own building material business. The business grew like corn in rainy season. Soon, he was no longer just Chinedu the trader, but Odigu Chinedu, the respected businessman. He wore white kaftans, drove a Lexus SUV, and was invited to village meetings in a city that was not his own. His store turned into a chain. His name opened doors. But through it all, he kept his past locked deep inside his chest like a caged spirit. Then came Neka. She was light-skinned, with eyes that sparkled like moonlight on river water. A nurse by training, humble in heart, and sharp in wit. They met at a friend's wedding where Chinedu had been forced to attend by a persistent business partner. She laughed at his dry jokes, called him sir to tease him, and didn't care for his wealth. They courted for 6 months. On the 7th, he asked for her hand in marriage. The wedding was small but beautiful. They danced like two people who had been searching for each other across lifetimes. And for the first time in years, Chinedu, Ikenna, felt something close to peace. Together they built a home filled with laughter and love. Their first child came, then another, until they were 5, 3 boys and 2 girls, each bearing a piece of their father's old soul and their mother's gentleness. But even joy has its shadows. From time to time, Neka would ask gently, "My love, don't you want me to meet your parents?" Chinedu would smile, kiss her forehead, and say, "One day. When the time is right." "But when will it be right?" she once asked, eyes wet with frustration. "Our children don't even know where their grandfather's land is. Don't they deserve to?" Chinedu would grow quiet then, staring out the window, as if searching for answers in the clouds. He had buried Ikenna, or so he thought. But blood remembers. Spirit remembers. And the ghost of Yumius had not stopped calling. Years passed, and the weight of secrecy grew heavier. Chinedu loved Neka and their children more than life itself, but he could not bring himself to open the door to the grave he had once crawled out of. Until one evening, as the harmattan breeze swept through the streets and dust hung in the air like ancestral whispers, he made a decision. He stood at the doorway of their home and said, "Pack a bag. All of you. We are going to the village. It's time you meet my people." Nkeru stood frozen for a moment, then rushed into his arms. "Thank you," she whispered. He did not smile. He only looked up, not at the sky, but at something beyond it. He had heard the drumbeats of fate again. The journey begins. As they packed the car, the children buzzed with excitement. Will grandfather teach us how to trap bush rats? Obinna asked, bouncing on his toes. Ikenna forced a smile. Yes, little lion. He will. But when Gozi, ever perceptive, asked, Papa, why are your hands shaking? Neka intervened with a too bright laugh. He's just eager to see his home. Ikenna mouthed thank you over her head. As the engine roared to life, he cast one last glance at their home, as if memorizing it. Then they drove toward the past, and the truth he could no longer outrun. The road to Umu's had become narrower with time, the red earth crumbling at its edges like stale bread. Ikenna's knuckles turned white around the steering wheel as familiar landmarks emerged through the car windows, the crooked Udola tree where he'd stolen his first kiss, the abandoned yam barn where children now played hide-and-seek, the rusted signpost that once proudly declared, Welcome to Umu's, in peeling letters. Neko reached across the gear shift and squeezed his thigh. You're trembling, she whispered in that voice she used when the children had nightmares. I'm fine, he lied, swallowing the metallic taste of fear. The scar on his stomach burned as if Ogbona's poison had just struck him anew. The children's excited chatter filled the car. Will there be goats, Papa? Little Obinna asked, pressing his nose against the window. Will grandmother make us fufu with bitter leaf soup? Amora added, kicking the back of Ikenna's seat rhythmically. Yes to both, Ikenna managed, forcing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. In the rearview mirror, he saw Chidi watching him with an unsettling focus. The boy had always been too perceptive for his own good. As they rounded the final bend, the compound came into view. Ikenna's breath hitched. The thatched roof of his childhood home had been replaced with corroded zinc, sagging in the middle like a tired back. The once vibrant compound now looked shrunken, defeated. But the guava tree still stood sentinel near the entrance, its branches heavy with memories. Ikenna suddenly swerved off the road, parking beneath a cluster of palm trees about 500 meters from the compound. Dust swirled around the car like restless spirits. Neka, his voice cracked. Drive the children ahead, that's the compound. I need to greet an old friend first. I'll join you shortly. Neka's brow furrowed. What friend? Ikenna, we've come this far together. Please. The word came out sharper than intended. He softened his tone. Just go. Tell them their son is coming. The children protested, but Neka silenced them with a look. As she herded them out of the car, she turned back. You have 5 minutes. Then I'm sending Chidi to find you. Ikenna watched them drive toward the compound, Neka's yellow headscarf bright against the dull greens and browns, the children's matching outfits making them look like a procession of colorful butterflies. When they were halfway there, he saw his mother emerge from the house, hand shielding her eyes from the sun. Then chaos erupted. Ikenna's mother watched as a young woman and 5 children approached her. Neka, good day, Mo. How are you doing today? Ikenna, mother, I am fine, my daughter. Please, who are you looking for? She asked. I am Neka, Ikenna Chinedu's wife, and these are his children. We actually came with him from Lagos. He stopped a pole away to greet an old friend and promised to join us shortly, she explained. Ikenna's mother let out a scream and fainted. The family rushed out to know what was wrong as she recapped her story. Ikenna's father, my son Ikenna, died over 8 years ago, point to a small grave by the corner. She fell to the ground as she weeps. We have been married for 8 years and these are his children. Child reached out to present an envelope which the father has given to him to give to Grandpa. Here, my dad said I should give you this. Grandpa opened the envelope and saw a letter, a bank check of 100 million naira and picture of his son Ikenna with his NYSC uniform standing outside his compound. This picture was taken many years ago, he said. He weeps. Oh, my dear son, he muttered. At the bottom of the pile was a note. Chidi was the first to move. The boy, only 8 but with his father's old soul, stepped forward and grabbed his mother's hand. He's gone, Mama, he said, voice trembling but certain. But he left us the letter. Inside the Okonkwo family compound, chaos had turned to eerie silence. Ikenna's mother, Nkiru, rocked back and forth on a low stool, whispering prayers to ancestors. His father, Motsi Okonkwo, sat stiffly at the family's wooden table, the contents of Ikenna's envelope spread before him. A will, signed and notarized, leaving everything to Nkiru and the children, and a separate trust for his parents and siblings. And then, the photograph. A recent picture of Ikenna, standing in front of a half-built mansion, the very mansion he had promised his parents years ago. The date stamp on the photo was from just 1 month before this journey. How? Motsi Okonkwo whispered, his calloused fingers tracing his son's face in the photo. We buried you. We mourned you. Nkiru, still shaking, reached into the envelope one last time and pulled out a folded sheet of paper, the letter Ikenna had written to his family. The letter. To my parents, my wife, and my children. If you are reading this, then you have learned the truth. 8 years ago, I was murdered and buried. But the ancestors refused to let me go. They sent me back, not as a ghost, not as a spirit, but as a man, with breath in my lungs and a heart that still beat. I do not know why I was given this second life. I only know that I was meant to finish what I started. To my parents, the mansion in the photo is yours. It is complete, waiting for you in Asaba. The keys are with my lawyer. I have secured education for all my siblings, they will want for nothing. To Nkiru, forgive me. I never wanted to deceive you. But how could I tell you that the man you loved was a dead thing walking? Our children are my greatest joy. Raise them to be brave. Raise them to know that death is not always the end. To my children, when you hear stories about me, know this, I loved you enough to come back from the grave to meet you. But no man can cheat death twice. Do not search for me. I am at peace now. Goodbye. Ikenna, the man who lived twice. The weeks that followed were a blur. Nkiru took the children back to Lagos, but the house felt hollow without Ikenna's presence. Sometimes, she swore she heard his footsteps in the hallway at night, or caught his scent, a mix of mahogany and something earthy, lingering in their bedroom. Motsi Okonkwo and Nkiru moved into the mansion in Asaba, but they kept a shrine in the corner of the sitting room, a framed photo of Ikenna, surrounded by candles and fresh flowers. The villagers of Umus told the story in hushed tones. Some called Ikenna an Ogbanj, a spirit child who had tricked death. Others said he is a restless ghost who had unfinished business. But the elders knew the truth, he was something rarer. A man who had died with honor, and returned with purpose.